Dear representatives of the institutions that are here with us today, good morning. My name is Victor Zúñiga, Energy Efficiency Director of the Mexican Ministry of Energy, CENER. It is an honor for me, on behalf of the Ministry of Energy, to give you the most cordial welcome to this event, the global launch of the International Energy Agency's Energy Efficiency Indicators online training course. To begin this event, I kindly ask Mr. Leonardo Beltrán Rodríguez, Deputy Secretary for the Energy Planning and the Transition at the Mexican Ministry of Energy, to give the welcome remarks.
Mil gracias a todos. Buenos días. Primero que todo quisiera empezar transmitiendo un saludo y una felicitación a las mujeres en el Día Internacional de la Mujer y además felicitar las acciones de las mujeres en energía que están lanzando diferentes iniciativas. Tenemos ya un grupo enfocado a energías renovables y eficiencia energética. Tenemos otro grupo de mujeres en energía en general. Y bueno, no quería dejar pasar la oportunidad de felicitarlas ahora y expresarles nuestro reconocimiento. Y ahora quisiera cambiar el idioma a inglés, justo por el lanzamiento de esta plataforma, este curso de entrenamiento, y disculparán ustedes el que utilice el inglés. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was just saying in Spanish that I wanted to start off by congratulating women on their day. In Mexico, we have a very engaged women in the energy sector. They have just created a couple of institutions to promote gender equality, and one of those groups is focused on energy efficiency and renewable energy, and another one a more comprehensive work on all energy topics. So once again, congratulations and thank you for those efforts. And on behalf of the Mexican Ministry of Energy from CENER, I give you a warm welcome to CENER. It's an honor and a privilege to host the International Energy Agency and to host the global launch of the Energy Efficiency Indicators online training course. Good morning to Brian Motherway. Thank you for coming to Mexico and to select Mexico as the launching site for this training course. I also would like to mention that this is the first public engagement after Mexico has become the 30th member of the International Energy Agency. So I also would like to thank the support of Brian and the rest of the team for Mexico to be successful in becoming the 30th member. And please say hi and also congratulate and thank Mr. Fatih Birol for all that help and support. Odón, muchas gracias por tu apoyo. Thank you for being here. Santiago Creujeras, el director general de Eficiencia Energética de la Secretaría de Energía. And of course, all the participants to this launching in Mexico. As you know, Mexico has recorded an important, a series of important events over the last years. The energy reform, it's one of the key topics that has improved the energy sector in particular, but it has had an effect into the competitivity of Mexico across the board. Part of what we have been doing in the energy sector and with the energy reform, it's to set up the conditions to promote clean and sustainable development. And in order to contribute to reduce our carbon footprint and promote a more sustainable energy sector, we have created some instruments, legal instruments, and also policy instruments to support this effort. The specific piece of legislation that was passed in order to support these efforts, it's the Energy Transition Act, which retakes a commitment made in other legal pieces, which is our commitment to generate clean energy in 2024. The share of our energy generation should be 35% coming only from clean energies. And the other special component of the legislation and of the policy instrument that has been charged in the Energy Transition Act is the transition strategy to promote technology and cleaner fuels. And this is the first policy that actually equates and gives the same importance to energy efficiency and clean generation. And this is a major change in the energy sector, not only in Mexico, but in many countries, because in Mexico we believe, and now we have set up the legal framework and the policy to make sure that we first focus on energy efficiency, or energy efficiency first, as Mr. Odonde would say, and internationally or globally, as I was saying earlier today to Brian Motherway, the Pope of energy efficiency, he would say energy efficiency first. And now we have in this policy strategy, the transition strategy, that we have to focus on those areas of opportunity which cover all the different subsectors of the economy. And then, of course, once we have changed the way we do our standard operations in the energy sector, but incorporating this energy efficiency framework, then we should focus on how to generate clean energies. And for this in particular, of course, we have instruments. I only would like to highlight what we have done. For instance, on the regulatory system, we have now 30 Mexican official standards, mandatory standards, to make sure that we are covering the most possible sectors of the economy, including, of course, transport, which is the top contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, but also industry, the second largest contributor, and then the other components, which is commercial and domestic. In particular, we have developed as well and incorporated into our policy the promotion of sustainable use of energy in large industries through the incorporation of ISO 50001. And here I would like to highlight the presence of the representative from UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, who UNIDO has been leading this effort globally. So thanks for the support in incorporating and making, solidifying these efforts in the Mexican industrial sector. And the other component is on accelerating the adoption of efficient technologies in Mexico. For this purpose, we have developed some financial instruments to engage domestic consumers. We have developed different incentives for commercial and industrial facilities. And the largest component we have to engage different stakeholders is the municipalities program, in which today we have a baseline of understanding on what are the opportunities for municipalities. Today we know that what's the baseline in 32 cities in Mexico. We have developed this financial facility to incorporate these municipalities into the energy efficiency framework, and we have also developed, besides policy, regulation, and the legal framework, we have also created a fourth component, very important, which is an investment facility to promote capacity building and training of people to incorporate these specialists into the work of municipalities, state offices or state governments, and at the federal level. I would like to also thank Brian for the possibility of Mexico be engaged into this Energy Efficiency Training Week. This is one of the key areas in which we see the benefit of being part of the International Energy Agency. As long as we have strengthened human talent, focus on energy efficiency, it's easier for us to convey the messages, the opportunities, to align policies, but day-to-day activities be communicated by experts, but onto the community at large, and see that energy efficiency is not a fad, but energy efficiency is a way of living, and a way of living being sustainable. So for that reason, we are really thankful for the opportunity to be trained with one of the top institutions devoted to energy efficiency, and being able to share our experiences in this topic. I also would like to say that besides having the legal framework, the policy, and these capacity building opportunities, with the help as well of the International Energy Agency, and with the help of the National Commission for the Efficient Use of Energy, we are in the process of developing a survey which will characterize and will have the opportunity to set up the baseline of consumption in the domestic sector, with collecting information from the 32 states in Mexico, in order to understand the difference across the different states, but also the difference in terms of, for instance, weather-wise, what's the consumption and what are the particular appliances that take a little bit more of the energy, or in the central areas, what are the opportunities in which there's no variability in terms of the weather. So this is another of the charges that had been reflected into the policy to strengthen the information we have in order to develop specific or targeted policies to take advantage of the energy efficiency opportunity. And for all of these reasons, now that the IEA has this program of energy efficiency in emerging economies, we feel much more privileged in the launching of this platform to share our experiences in similar countries, but also share experiences of developed countries that can inform different processes, but also incorporate similar experiences into novel areas, which is basically the end product that we would like to have from the policies that we have set up, the projects that we have developed, but in the end, the opportunity to work with the IAA is to learn, understand, and share what's the future if we incorporate energy efficiency not just as another topic of the energy sector, but energy efficiency as a way to move forward in the energy sector. So once again, thanks very much for the opportunity, and thanks very much to Brian and the team, Roberta, for being here and have the opportunity to share with you the energy efficiency indicators online training course, a first on energy efficiency in general, but a first being Mexico the 30th member of the International Energy Agency. Thanks very much y muchas gracias a todos por la participación, y ojalá se sumen a este esfuerzo que demuestra el interés, el compromiso que tiene el gobierno mexicano, que tiene que ser incorporado no solamente por las instituciones gubernamentales, sino por el esfuerzo de todos, demostrando que, una vez más, la eficiencia energética no es solo un tópico adicional, sino la eficiencia energética es una forma de vida que impacta el sector energético. Gracias a todos.
Thank you, Mr. Leonardo Beltrán Rodriguez, Deputy Secretary for Energy Planning and Transition at the Mexican Ministry of Energy, for the welcome remarks. Now, I kindly invite to Mr. Brian Motherway, Head of the Energy Efficiency Division at the International Energy Agency, to address some opening remarks.
Gracias. Buenos dias. I have now used all the Spanish words I know, so thank you for accommodating our poor language skills. But I must say, Deputy Secretary Santiago Odan. It's fantastic to be here among such great friends and allies, and so many people in the room that we recognise as friends and allies in our work on energy, and of course not just Mexican friends, but friends from other countries, including some of the countries that help fund our work, for which we are extremely grateful. And of course those watching us on the live stream in Mexico and hopefully many other countries. It's a real great pleasure to be here this morning. First of all, to escape the Paris winter and to come to some nice weather here in Mexico. I'm doing some solar storage as I speak over these couple of days to kind of stock up on some heat, so thank you for providing that. As Leonardo said, just 2 weeks ago, Mexico formally became the IEA's 30th member, and we couldn't be more pleased with that, and we couldn't be more grateful. And Leonardo, in fact, he did ask me to pass on both his regards, but also his thanks to you and all of your colleagues and all of the colleagues here for the tremendous amount of work that has led to what is, I can tell you, a record rapid process in Mexico becoming a full member of the IEA, because it does take a lot of work and a lot of willingness and a lot of friendship, and really that's what it's been about, is friendship. And we're very pleased to have that formally recognized now and see Mexico as a full member of the IEA. And this is very much in keeping with the process of change that we at the IEA are going through. I think it is fair to say that a few years ago we were less global than we are. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the IEA family, as we like to call it, encompassed about 40% of global energy demand, whereas today it encompasses 70% of global energy demand. Because we know these kind of issues we're facing really are global, because tackling our energy and climate problems that we face together is a team sport. It's about countries working together to learn from each other and to find solutions and to implement those solutions. And so to have Mexico fully on board that team with us, we couldn't be more pleased. And that's why it's so great to be here today, because we're here today to launch the IEA's first ever professional online training courses. And as far as I'm concerned, I couldn't be happier, A, that they are on the topic of energy efficiency, and B, that we are doing this here in Mexico. Because I can tell you, not every country understands as well as Mexico does the importance of energy efficiency. And I'm always impressed when I come here to see how much focus is being put on the topic and how much political commitment is behind the topic. And you have such great expertise represented at this table in this room, but also you seem to have some magic power of societal engagement that really allows you to drive forward some really impressive pieces of work in the last few years. And it's great to be here to learn more about that and to help tell that story. Because sometimes energy efficiency can feel quite abstract. It's something that you can't measure or touch. And as we've all had experience of trying to explain it to our bosses or our ministers or even to the general public, it can be very hard to talk about energy efficiency. And yet it affects all of our lives so much every day, in terms of we all use energy in so many positive ways to keep ourselves comfortable and warm, to support our jobs, to help us travel around, to make lives better for all of us. And yet we have to tackle all the negativities that may come with using energy inefficiently or wastefully, whether it's air pollution in our cities or affordability for us as individuals or for us as businesses or societies, and of course the global dimensions such as climate change, which Mexico, I know, is very focused on, as many countries are. So I think I must say, as I talk to countries around the world, there's never been a greater recognition of the need to make more progress on energy efficiency and to really ramp up our ambition and our level of implementation. Because I think even as countries talk more about energy efficiency, we in the agency don't always see that translating into action. We sometimes see targets being set and we see promises being made, but energy efficiency doesn't happen just because you set a target. It needs work on the ground, and it needs ministries and agencies and industries and stakeholders to really work hard to make it happen, and that's why it is so challenging. And 3 things I would share with you that I find are key lessons in success here. One is, it is about exchange and learning. And more than any energy topic, I think energy efficiency benefits from international exchange and collaboration. it's the one energy resource that we all share is energy efficiency. Some countries like Mexico are well endowed with fossil resources and indeed renewable resources. Other countries have different resources, but every single country in the world has a resource called energy efficiency, the first fuel. And they face similar kind of options and policy opportunities, but also challenges in tapping into that resource. And therefore, they can all learn from each other. And we see ourselves in the IEA as having a role in helping that exchange, such as the conversations we're having here today, so that others can learn from Mexico's successes and failures, and Mexico can learn from others' successes and failures and move forward on that basis. The second secret ingredient, not such a secret, is information and data. And you can't set the right policies, you can't understand where your priorities are, you can't target finite manpower and resources and financial capacity unless you really understand what's going on in terms of data. And I know I'm preaching to the converted here in terms of the ability to understand the energy situation and really see that even though collecting data costs money, it saves far money by allowing for targeted policies and really getting things right in terms of decision making and actions. And finally, energy efficiency is about people. And it's about people who have the space and time, who've been given the mandate to work on energy efficiency, but also who have the capacity to do it in terms of the knowledge, the data, the expertise. And that brings us to why we're here today, to talk about two particular elements of the wider landscape of energy efficiency, where some capacity building we hope will really make a difference. And that's in terms of gathering energy efficiency statistics and then turning them into indicators. And as you'll see later on when our colleagues present these new online courses, these are introductory courses for people who want to understand a bit more about these issues and hopefully then empower them in their own work, whatever that may be, to both gather and use and understand how to use this kind of information to make better decisions and lead to better outcomes. Now, as Leonardo mentioned, today is International Women's Day, as we're reflecting on our panel here on the stage. And I did want to note that energy efficiency has so many gender dimensions as we work around the world in terms of energy access, in terms of making people's lives better. And it's something we're very cognizant of at the IEA, both in terms of our own behaviours, but also in terms of the global engagement around energy efficiency and energy more generally. And I did want to say to you, first of all, that in the energy efficiency training work we do that Leonardo mentioned, last year we trained 600 officials from nearly 100 countries from all parts of the world, and just over half of them were women, which was the first time we achieved that ratio. And equally here in Mexico, you should know, I don't know if you do know, that you are our world record holder for participation in exchange webinars between the IEA and other countries and Mexico. Over the last 3 years, over 3,500 people from Mexico have joined us over the internet on these webinars, which are a mixture of training courses and briefings and seminars and things like that. And up to date, about a third of those participants have been women, but it is growing. And also we're seeing a nice cadre of younger professional women participating as kind of the next generation of decision makers and actors. And that's very much to be welcomed. And I can see that it's a priority here for you as well as it is for us. So we are here to do something new. We have never done this before at the IEA, and we specifically asked our colleagues in Mexico, would you be willing to be the first mover or the early adopter in terms of helping us launch this course today, and then also take it on. So we are hoping that many of you and many of your colleagues and many of the people watching us over the internet will sign up for these courses. They are free and openly available. Anna will tell you in a few minutes exactly how to access them. And you will be the first users on the planet of these new courses, and therefore we will very much welcome your feedback. And so we propose in a few weeks' time to invite those of you that have been engaging with the courses online to come together again here in Mexico City to give us your feedback so that we can improve these courses so that people using them all over the world will get a better experience based on the intelligence and expert advice that you give us. Being an early mover advantage comes with some disadvantages as well as advantages, and one is, I'm afraid to say, that at the moment the course is in English, so I hope you can bear with us because it's an absolute priority for us to translate it into Spanish, but we thought it was better to get your feedback first before we translate it and then have to translate it again. So in a few weeks' time, when we have got your feedback on the course, we will be producing a Spanish version, and we do hope that will help spread it more widely. And equally, I can let you know we'll be producing a Chinese version and a Portuguese version and an Indonesian language version and several other languages, because this really is a global initiative for us. And it will create a global community. So those of you that log on and join these courses will find yourself able to see who else is doing these courses around the world and exchange experience and information and become part of that global family that is talking about this very important topic of energy efficiency. So, my thanks for the warm welcome here today and for hosting this and for being willing to be the first mover on this important topic. We always receive a warm welcome in Mexico. We really value the relationship we have with you, Santiago, Leonardo, Odon, all of our friends and colleagues. It's a very important dimension of our work to be working with Mexico so strongly, especially now that you're our 30th member. And let's say from here, who knows where we'll go further in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brian Motherway, Head of the Energy Efficiency Division at the International Energy Agency, for your kind words. Now, I kindly ask Mr. Odon de Buen Rodriguez, General Director of the National Commission for the Efficient Use of Energy, CONUE, to present us some facts about energy efficiency indicators in Mexico.
Thank you, Victor. Leonardo Beltran, Undersecretary of Planning and Energy Transition. Brian Motherway, Santiago Cregueras, friends. It's nice to be here and to participating in this very relevant start of a process of training people on this important issue of energy efficiency indicators. And well, in Mexico, we've been working particularly strong in this administration since 2013. First, in a process indirectly related to the International Energy Agency through ICLAC, the Economic Commission for Latin America of the United Nations. We integrated ourselves to a process of training on these type of indicators for Central America. And we even had meetings here in Mexico about that, and we have been collaborating. This process started in South America, Central America, and Mexico were second, and the process became very successful. Ignacio Navarrete, who's been leading that in CONUE, became very good friends with the French from ADEME, who are doing the work with local authorities. And well, we got to the point that it was interesting enough that we developed a particular cooperation with ADEME. There was an agreement between Secretary Joaquin and the Ambassador of France to support a process to develop our own system of indicators. And that led to have a, para atrás, por favor. That led to this process that has taken years and that is now in place. We have a system, el BIE, Base de Indicadores de Eficiencia Energética database, that we have even used it to report for the first time to the International Energy Agency of the information. And this is a database that has been, I mean, the Nacho's team is here present, and it's been them who have done most of the work, collecting data for more than 4 years from 32 official sources. It is 720 variables. We now have indicators that go beyond or under the aggregation that ECLAC had. Now we have subsectors, and you can find, for example, in the residential sector, what is the saturation of refrigerators on time series. And this is something that was put in place when we had the very large, very important meeting last year on Mexico's energy transition, DEMEX, which was a big success, and that's what we presented this platform to the world. Next one, please. So this system, which is based on ADEM's database, has tables of data and indicators for 7 sectors, eligible time periods. It's similar to what the Secretaría has, the Sistema de Información Energética, when you can choose the years and you can add sectors and you can mix indicators. It's in English and Spanish. You can have graphics automatically, and it is a very flexible tool. If you want to go in, just go to BIE. The login is BIEE, and the contraseña, the password is público, and you can go in and use it. It's been there for months already. Next one, please. And it's been a very useful tool. Undersecretary Beltran spoke about the energy transition law. It has helped us commit in our goals with under the strategy and develop some policy analysis that I will show you in a minute. And in general, strengthen our capacity to analyze what is going on at good level of detail. We also collect in CONUE information from the industrial sector, large energy users, and also from the federal administration buildings and fleets, and all that information also under the law, we have to organize it, and this will be part of the system that we have for information. Next. And I would like to show you just an example of how this can be used or how this is being used. Mexico's population and number of households has grown in the last 20 years. There has been an increase in the, and you can see it with the database, by the way, on the level of energy services, because more people have refrigerators, especially on the lower income level households. Next one, please. And we have a policy that has been there since 1993, that is 25 years. It's going to be 25 years that the Committee for Standards of CONUE started. And now we have, as Undersecretary Beltran was mentioning, 30, I think it's 31. Now it's such a large number. So it's 31 standards, mandatory standards of the main equipment in households: refrigerators, washing machines, gas stoves, water heaters, lamps, air conditioners, water pumps. Most of the equipment, the equipment that uses more than 80% of the energy of a household is already under a standard. And through these 20 years, we can say that there are 74 million large equipment that is under standards operating right now in the households of Mexico. And everything that you buy has to be under these standards. Even in refrigerators, we're on the 4th generation. So the question has been, has that had any effect? So that's where the energy indicators come in. Please. This is data from the database, basically. And we use, the variables are energy use, number of people, and the other one is energy use and expendable income. Which the one of energy use and expendable income shows intensity. And following that benchmark, we have gone down since 1992, 47%. Of course, there are other factors. If you see how much people spend in their household, things may have, people spend more on other things, but it's a very recognizable pattern. You know, if you see it per capita, it's 20%. So these indicators show us there's a policy, a long-term policy, structural policy of Mexico that has been very successful, and we can see it with these indicators. And the other graph would be, and this is interesting, is this is seen by percentiles of population, low income to high income, divided in 5 quintiles. I don't know if that's the right word in English. And this is lines. One is the line for year 1994 is the top one in red. You can see that the people that spent more of their income in energy were the poorest people. Well, those poorest people have acquired more equipment, and now, according to that time series, spend half of the percentage of what they were spending in 1994, and now in 2016. And that is because those 76 million pieces of equipment that came in with the standards mandated by law. It has not had the same effect on other levels of income because they have been subjected to other policies. But we can see these processes with the indicators. I mean, this is not data from CONUE, this is data from INEGI, this is data from other sources that's in the database, and it's there. I mean, it has served us, it is serving CONUE to show that there's a policy, of long-term policy, that has been successful. So I think, of course, this is something that can be used for the training, but of course I use this to have a commercial on the I would say the strongest policy of Mexico on energy efficiency. It's long-term, and I think this is the most robust program in all of Latin America in terms of energy efficiency. And I cannot stop reminding that. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Rodon de Buen Rodriguez, General Director of the National Commission for the Efficient Use of Energy, CONUE, for presenting us some facts about energy efficiency indicators in Mexico. Now we will make a short 5-minute break. We'll come to continue with the program. Thank you.
Ellos ya no se quedan acá arriba, ¿no?
Está prendido.
¿Probando? Sí. Ya. Ya, no estaba así. Gracias. Your attention, please. We invite you to continue with the program. Please have a seat. ¿Pasa entonces estar ahí?
Sí, prefiero. Para no estar expuesta.
Ya está la presentación. Okay. Now we will continue with the participation of Mrs. Arcelia Breceda Solis, head of the Design Department of Special Survey Questionnaires from the National Institute of Statistics, Geographic, and Informatics, INEGI. Mrs. Breceda participates in the designing and conceptual work in statistical projects such as culture, aging, health, expenditure, and more recently about energy consumption at particular dwellings. She has composed writings within the frame of a statistical work for the Inter-American Statistical Institute journal, such as attendance at selected cultural events in Mexico, reading promotion, obesity, and aging in Mexico. Mrs. Breceda, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you. Now the panel, we have women, just as you ask. So, thank you and welcome everybody. Good morning. I am here in this beautiful city. I come from Aguascalientes, where our headquarters are. INEGI is over there. And we just were invited to talk about this new project we are working on, and it's quite related with the theme that we are having today. So as I'll present this new project, and every time that I work in a new project, I tell that it's like a son. We take or a daughter. We take care of it, and we care of it, and also we make publish of it. So now is the time, and now is the moment. So INEGI will conduct the data collecting for the National Survey on Private Dwellings Energy Consumption in this year, 2018, with the aim to generate statistics to support public policies on energy consumption reduction and energetics efficiency use, the thing that we have been talking in this morning. In Mexico, we have no survey precedent regarding private dwellings energy consumption. So it's very important because it's going to be new for us to have this kind of information from the households. Also, there is a statistical information regarding electricity at dwellings as well as its expenditure. There are not detailed information about the use, number, and characteristics of the different household appliances, hourly and seasonal use of energy, and energy-saving practices at dwellings. So due to technology changes and lifestyles, it is important to generate actual data about energy in residential sectors. Energy is a focal point on national policy. From a strategic perspective, energy is an important aspect in policies design, economy debates, supply security, environment, and new employment. So, our general objective of our project is to generate statistical information that allows to identify dwellings energy consumption partners in Mexico, to identify the approximate energy consumption, usage hours by domestic appliance, fuel types used, energy power level, as well as practices on energy use. This might support decisions on public policies creation and promotion of support programs according to the population-specific needs. And the methodological characteristics of our product, of our project, is selected private dwellings. The target population is people who are resident at these dwellings, and the informant is a adult, 18 years old or older, that knows the information we are going to ask for at the representative national level. The sample size, good size, 32,000 dwellings at national level. So, the thematic coverage is dwellings, energy, and full supply, as well as the consumption. Yes? No, I don't think so. I don't know if it's a different presentation. We should go. No, I think it's a different presentation. So we can go on. Maybe the... Yes, yes. More, please. More. Another one. And here we can go on. I'm going to talk about this, and then we'll go back again. Y regresamos un poquito. ¿Sí? Okay. So what I'm going to talk about now is about the thematic coverage. Ensevi is going to talk about dwellings, energy, and full supply, as well as consumption. And we are going to ask also about the lighting and its appliances, considering general characteristics such as size, capacity, years of use. Another thing is appliances use characteristics such as time and date of use, as well as practices to reduce electricity, gas, and gasoline consumption. And this is very important, information on knowledge, disposition, willingness, and decision-making at home. Who takes the decision of changing to new energies? To understand if it's the man or the woman, the sex, the scholar level, and also if they work or not. And to know who are the persons that take these kind of decisions. Also, to knowledge about programs. We can go on more, please. Another one. Also, we can stay here to know if people understand the knowledge of energy efficiency label. This, as the people who were before me were talking about, we want to know if the population at households understand what does the labels mean and what kind of information these labels have. And with this, we can understand if we are getting to know more about energy efficiency. So this project recollects information of who at home takes this decision and if they identify this kind of labels. Te voy a molestar si nos vamos poquito para atrás. Una hacia adelante. Una más. Más. Perfecto. So, the information we are going to recollect will help to different policies, such as equipment replaces programs, to take out old technologies, also to make energy poverty analysis and also related with health issues, to know good practices design and awareness campaign about correct energy use, evaluation of potential development of gas infrastructure, strategies development for energy companies, residential sector studies for renewable energies. So we are quite sure that the information that SEBI is going to collect can give information for these policies at all levels. That might help to understand what the Mexico population is doing regarding this sector. And also, please more, the potential users. Who is going to use the information we are making? Well, it can be used for educational projects interested in fuels, renewable energies, or energy-related works, organizations involved in promoted energy efficiency programs, as well as government agency, energy industries involved in manufacturing, marketing, or offering appliances in the sector, and of course, we all, society at general level, to become aware of opportunities for the efficient use of energy. So we are quite sure that this project can give this kind of information and has an important sample size. For me, INEGI, it's a pleasure to talk about this. Nevertheless, the presentation was not the one that I'm talking about, but the main thing is put there, and also I just talk it to you, explain it to you, and I'm sorry that I only have 10 minutes to talk about this. So for your attention, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Preseda, Head of the Design Department of Special Survey Questionnaires from the National Institute of Statistics, Geography, and Informatics, INEGI. Now, we welcome to Mrs. Roberta Quadrelli, Head of the Energy Balances, Prices, Emissions, and Energy Efficiency Data Center at the International Energy Agency, who will speak about the importance of energy efficiency indicators for statisticians and policymakers.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, green. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much again. Yes, thank you for your great presentation, compact but very powerful. We are always very pleased to hear of advancement in data collection in countries. Now Mexico is a member country, as it was mentioned, so it's even more important to hear of this progress for the International Energy Agency. I work in the Energy Statistics Division, so really the idea of being here talking about energy efficiency, being in Mexico, as Brian said, but also talking about data and indicators, which is so important. So it's really a pleasure to be here. I'll try to give a little bit of a flavor for the technical content, what we can do with these indicators, why we want to promote the use more broadly worldwide in this overview. Well, first of all, once again, having evidence-based policy, it's at the heart of the IEA work. So data and indicators are for us key for longer-term targeting planning. So this is an example taken from actually your PRONACE, so that we see that the objective number one there is to promote a series of action and programs to promote optimal use of energy, but then there is an attached indicator because we need to see that the program has had an impact, and so that indicator in this case is an energy intensity of the economy, because we want to see this decrease. It was already shown earlier. We expect that the collection of action and programs will affect the final consumption of energy. So, great importance of indicators for policy. Once again, each individual measure that we implement actually should have its own data collection and monitoring and evaluation, and this is much more detailed data that we would need than those to track high-level indicators. So we also promote the idea of monitoring evaluation coupled with policy during the delivery and after the delivering of the policy, to learn how to improve, why the results of the policy were the way they were, and how we could improve in the next situations. But at this point, we have on one side this idea of total final consumption of the country and maybe a total energy intensity. On the other side, at the bottom level, a very large number of different programs and measures that are applied to specific areas of policy. So it's this sort of understanding what the bridge between these two sides. And so that's why we want to promote efficiency indicators at the sectoral and use level as really a tool to understand the combined effect of policy on the overall energy trends, energy demand trends. So it's really a powerful tool to see and to assess energy efficiency progress as a whole. Although we require rather detailed data compared to what we have in usual energy balances of countries. I go back to the, to the concept of the energy intensity. This is a group of regions. I also have Mexico in dark blue, where we see a very, very remarkable decrease in energy intensity, as was remarked just earlier. It's really quite an achievement. Still, you know, if we read this type of graph that is based on energy balances information, we would like to understand better why this intensity has reduced. There may be many different reasons, so we really need to have a better understanding. On the demand side, data of the country. Are we talking about progress in transport versus buildings? Are we talking about structural changes in the economy? So there is a lot behind this that needs to be disentangled. That's why we talk about end-use data. End-use data are challenging, but this is where we are here, why we are here to promote this. These graphs are taken from the experience of the IEA. We have 2 countries, and we see all the total consumption in the pies, total final consumption across residential, industry, transport, and manufacturing, and services. And on the external pie, we highlighted the largest end uses that are driving the demand of this specific sector. So you can compare why you have high residential or high transport consumption and what final service really is driving that type of end use of energy trend. So you see in this case you have very different patterns between the 2 countries, especially if you look at the relative weight, for example, of the residential heating, space heating, compared to passenger cars. So these are 2 typical end uses for us. Other end uses in the residential sector would be space cooling, lighting, cooking, appliances. And then in transport, we would have, of course, freight, and we would also have other modes, but also specification in different vehicle types. So the understanding of going really to this detailed end-use level to see where the options, the opportunities will be also, because I can see what is growing fastest, what is driving trends in a significant way. But the concept is really also understanding what really drives these end-use energy trends. And these are what we call the activity. It's an example here taken from a recent report on trucks of the IEA. So, for example, for freight transport, one key determinant of activity is the stock of vehicles, what type of vehicles we have on the roads. This gives an estimate of general differentiation across regions. We see light to heavy duty. So this will be very important to understand how the freight consumption is evolving over time and why. It's not the only activity data we need. We would also need mileage and the ton, the payload, so the ton on average per travel that are used to move goods. So the importance of activity data is quite relevant for the work on indicators, because we are really comparing the energy usage with something that is driving it and see if this ratio over time makes sense in terms of energy efficiency progress. And this is, once again, starting from end-use energy and end-use activity data, we develop indicators. It's just the ratio. In this case, it's a typical indicator for transport, freight, once again, from the same report. So it's an energy intensity per ton kilometer. It means how much energy, on average, I spend to move 1 ton per 1 kilometer. And this is a very strong driver for the total consumption of energy in the country. So the two graphs are telling us basically that trucks have a strong intensity compared to other modes of shipping, of moving goods, of which the water, the shipping is the one that has, in this graph, the lowest intensity and also the largest activity, meaning more tons per kilometer are performed by shipping. But still, you see the heavy weight of trucks. Within the trucks, you can distinguish also the light vehicles that have, in the largest graph, the highest intensity. So it's all trying to understand what the driving dynamics for the end-use sectoral energy consumption, and see if then where the policy option will be, where we should focus, what we can do to improve our energy use. This is another example of indicators in another sector. It's in buildings. In particular, it's residential data. So once again, it goes from the aggregate trends of a total residential consumption, which is the top line. This is what I see overall. I see an increase in energy use. When I normalize based on population or on number of dwelling, I see that the increase is less pronounced, and this is because I expect an increase due to increase in population, increase in number of dwellings. But for to understand energy efficiency, we are not yet there. That's why we introduce the concept of the end uses once again. So the bottom two lines are really what we consider the energy efficiency indicators for buildings that are most appropriate, which is really looking at the end use in the space heating. For this case, is very relevant because it's the group of OECD countries for which we had the data this time. So space heating per floor area, per surface, it has a remarkable downward trends. And so we can say that, yes, there has been like very good progress in energy intensity. So, of course, the energy total consumption can increase because the activity has increased. So we don't worry so much about this, but we are pleased of the effect of policies about the reduction of intensity, meaning the insulation of buildings, were successful at least. This is a decrease of about 30% across these 20 years. So once again, it's, if we have end-use indicators, it's easier to support sectoral policy decisions because we know much better what happens, what drives energy use. So the idea of being able to disentangle why the energy consumption is increasing, if it is because our activity is increasing or if it is because I have energy efficiency progress, it's at the basis of what we call decomposition analysis. I'm showing two graphs. One is from our market report, energy efficiency, showing that there are some structural changes and some activity increases that are contributing to increase in energy consumption, but then there is an energy efficiency progress that is contributing to decrease energy consumption. Similarly, on the left is a graph specific to an end use. It's about refrigerators. It's taken from the ECLAC activity from Brazil. So we see once we have an increase in overall consumption of refrigerators, which is the blue bar, we can say, well, it's normal because I had more refrigerators, so increase in activity and also increase in meaning increasing in population and the rate of ownership. Both are there separated out. But then I can say that thanks to my policy, for example, standards and tax reductions, over time I managed to have an energy efficiency saving on the right. So we are able to disentangle the effects, and the idea of assessing how much saving is possible is very relevant also for planning policies across different end uses and sectors. And thinking about planning, one very, very relevant use of indicators, it's really the demand projection. Once again, this is taken from the track reports. It's about emission savings related to different scenarios of policy or development of technologies across the trucks end uses. It's more to show you that whenever we want to project demand, we really need to know the current status of these end-use indicators and maybe try to understand and have assumption of how we think that based on policy they will evolve over time. And this will be our basis to project the demand in the future. Similarly, our world energy model at the IEA is based on all these sectoral and end-use indicators across all the total final consumption. And this will be the basis to project overall demand in the world energy outlook. And this is a conceptual framework. We went very fast, but there are a lot of opportunities to understand the possible applications across different communities. So this is an example for hospitals I found. So EPA from the United States. So they're really looking at the same concept, but only looking at their policy on hospitals' energy efficiency. So the concept is, what is the activity they're driving? And they're looking on the right at the number of beds, the number of full-time employees. So we really need to define what is the activity driving energy use and how we can track that intensity change over time. So here we have a great community. The idea of this platform is also to create a broad opportunity, community discussing around the energy efficiency indicators and their potential use for policy. We saw that it's a tool that is important to monitor the current trend, but also to plan policy for the future, set targets, analyze effectiveness of energy efficiency progress overall. So it's really the idea of a strong cooperation actually between community of stakeholders, policy experts, statistics experts, which are very relevant. I'm glad we have a panel with even the National Statistical Office here. And also the approach can be applied, as I said, nationally, federal, but also state or municipal level. So it's really about thinking in these terms to better understand what we want from the future of energy use. Reminding what was shown before, Mexico has already a great experience in this area with the CONUE work with ECLAC and indicators, the database online. So some of this information is available as it was shown. From the point of view of statistics, I would like to make just some few concluding points about the importance of the data behind the indicators. Indicators are an incredible tool for an analysis, but we need a lot of data. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. So at the IEA, we promote always the establishment of very sound energy balances, because this is the first point to understand where we are with energy use in the country or in the region. This is an example of our data for Mexico that are coming through the CENER submission. And we see the evolution over time of these trends. We see that in the final consumption sector, the transport is definitely very relevant, as it was shown. So the energy balance needs to be strong, needs to be good, and needs to be the basis of our sectoral analysis, prioritization of policy overall, overarching, and just to understand the macro level, it's very important as well. So we have one sort of strong point there. But then this idea of pyramidal approach that we are proposing, so that there at the top you have the intensity, what we saw at the very beginning of the objective #1 indicator. And then we have a series of possible indicators down the pyramid. And of course, this will depend on your priorities, the sector you want to prioritize, the level of detail. You can go actually much more detailed in level of, I don't know, analyzing different technology. This is, for example, industrial efficiency, very relevant. So you see that we have this area of induced energy efficiency indicators there at the bottom, which requires more data. It requires more data, but it also needs to be consistent in terms of data with what we find above, because the sectoral totals of an energy balance would need to be the same as the sectoral total of the induced analysis. So the idea is there are data validation implication, data, feedback implication about this overall statistic work. Very important to keep in mind. Another point, it's about, of course, data accuracy. Indicators are a ratio between two different quantities. The two quantities are energy and activity. Most times they are collected maybe from different sources because activity on transport is somewhere else. It's not in the energy domain. This is quite a new challenge for energy statistics, we need to admit, and countries are addressing this in different ways. Uncertainty may be very strong if we are not very methodologically coherent, if we are not consistent with the definitions, boundaries among different variables. For example, in the track report, the mileage is very uncertain. So if we don't know that, for example, it's very difficult to decide a very effective policy instruments that are really targeting those vehicles that, for example, are traveling more. Similarly, if I have a policy for emission savings in transport, my fuel economy, if I don't have the passenger kilometer pretty much good now, my estimation of the saving can be really off for 20 years from now. So, we can make mistakes. So data collection has a cost, but the cost of not having data may be larger. So this was an example also from Conue that shows really the granularity of data sources in the country. It's a big mapping across end users, across sector, and it tells us that actually there are a lot of institutions that may be part of this community. We also need to be smart, because this may be challenging, but also it's an opportunity to reduce the overall cost of data collection if we know how to engage all the stakeholders in an appropriate way. So the idea is really to have a coherent approach of cooperation across the stakeholders that have an interest in some ways to this tool. So challenges, but also opportunities. The IA members have recognized this as an opportunity so far. We are quite glad. We have a new publication on energy efficiency indicators only for the last 2 years, because it's an emerging part of energy statistics that we want to promote more. So Mexico is the next, because we have already half of the work there, yes. So as I said, it's not only the IEA. There are a lot of international activities around this. ECLAC, the Odyssey project that was European funded, historically worked on this and actually linked to the Latin America. So we are all coherent in terms of methodology, but we also need to take the opportunity of this big, great momentum of interest around this topic. Eurostat is starting actually official data collection in European countries for end-use data, and it's quite recent. APEC similarly in Asia Pacific. So we have a global really community that is about to be created. So it's quite exciting. Reminding that the material in this online platform is derived by 2 manuals that are available in PDF form at the IEA website. We insist of this because it's really very important to think also about the methodological, the coherence, the definitions, all of this that goes behind the use of indicators for policy. So we need to have a sort of methodological approach that is ideally even comparable across countries to make sense of the different data. What is interesting is that the Spanish translation exists and it's available for download in the PDF version. So it's maybe an initial transition before the platform itself has been translated. So it's really for us a great achievement to see that these manuals really now are more growing. They're growing babies. This was the first babies. I'm glad we are talking about babies in the Women's Day. I think we have rights to talk about babies. So, yeah. So please, this was just some concluding remarks, because the idea was to give the flavor about a tool, about some methodological approaches that we are working on internationally. Some key points, really, collection of data, fundamental for policy, has a cost, but can reduce larger costs. These detailed data are what we are really seeking. If you really want to think about energy efficiency progress in the next X years, it's really these data that we need across all the various sectors and end uses. And once again, I would like to stress the idea of creating a larger community of stakeholders, because some of these activity data, for example, they are at the boundary with different policy domains, not only energy, maybe transport, it may be infrastructure, it may be climate, once again. So it's important to have a broad community that has interest in developing similar or comparable tool, because then it's a way also to reduce burdens in the data collection that goes with that. So from the point of view of the IEA, we are strongly committed to have a facilitation of this national work as much as possible. And for us, we care also a lot about institutional capacity that is created and maintained over time. So it's important also to have this work institutionalized, if possible. And this is one of the priority of the agency. So I think this is pretty much what I wanted to say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberta Quadrelli, Head of the Energy Balances, Prices, Emissions, and Energy Efficiency Data Center at the International Energy Agency. Now it's time to see the introduction to the International Energy Agency online training course by Mrs. Ana Lepure, Mexico-based consultant for the International Energy Agency E4 program.
Thank you, Victor. So I think I brought the correct presentation. Hopefully, yeah. Thank you. La siguiente, por favor. Well, we have heard that the energy efficiency is the most available resources, but still we have a lot of potential unreleased. Even for Mexico, they have recognized that they have 42% of potential reductions if we compare with the baseline scenario. So we have a lot, but why we haven't used these available resources? And I think one of the main barriers that normally is common here is that we lack of capacity building. So that's the reason that we are now working in this training. The training has been such a strong component for the IEA E4 program in the past 4 years. We have been holding training weeks since 2015 for emerging economies, providing sector-specific training for the next generation of policymakers, as well as energy efficiency webinars tailored to specific audiences and countries. And like you know, in Mexico, we have this webinar series between the IEA and CENER, and we have had more than 3,500 people connected. And this has been records for the IEA, like you have heard. Now the online training is a bit to reach a far greater audience, starting with the energy efficiency indicators to contribute to this. Next, please. Okay, so yes, of course, Mexico accession is a foundation stone for the IEA. And Mexicans have shown a great engagement with the online capacity. The level of attendance in the webinar series between CENER and IEA has broken records for the IEA webinars. Thank you so much for all the people that have been online in these webinars. The IEA, of course, is for that reason they have chosen Mexico to launch this platform, and is proud to be here today. The next one. Okay, so these online courses, like Roberta mentioned before, is based in the 2 manuals that the IEA has published. And this here, please help me. I have my, there's 2 manuals that they are available in Spanish and also in Russian and Chinese language, right? Yes. So the training, the platform, is made in 2 courses. On one hand, we have the essentials for policymakers, and the other is for statistics. So you can choose any of these, or even you can roll in both of them, of course. Through these courses, we aim to foster a mutual understanding so that together policymakers and statisticians can scale up energy efficiency improvements. Por favor. So this is the publication. The courses have been developed from the 2 IEA manuals, which have already been successful tool for building capacity between governments and enable action on energy efficiency around the world. Next, please. Thank you. So IEA experts will take you step by step and sector by sector, because it's divided in sectors. I will go to that part, through the fundamental aspects and theories of energy efficiency indicators. These courses are self-paced, and interactive lesson and assessment will guide you along the way and help to test your knowledge as you gradually absorb all these new concepts. like you say, and Brian mentioned before, is if you're taking straight, it's 10 hours training, but you can take your time, start to internalize all the knowledge that you are getting there, and also we have some part for testing, and you can test yourself how are you improving in this. There is not set time limit to complete the course, and you can stop and start the course as you wish, so that it will easily fit into your professional and personal lives. Next one. So the training has different aspects to help to interact inside there. We have expert videos. Maybe you recognize someone there. All of them, the IEA experts sharing their knowledge in different topics. Then next, we have interactive exercise. So the models have interactive exercise to reinforce their knowledge gain. So you can, I like this. Of course, I tried this before during the piloting phase. And you need to choose and move and decide which is the correct answer. So it's very nice, no? And excited to answer. Another part that they have is very important, next, is the discussion forums. So we greatly encourage you to contribute to the discussion forums, which will help you to better reflect on your own learning experience and share it. Like we were saying, this part is very important on energy efficiency, is to share the experience that we have had, because we have common barriers, and also we have some opportunities that also are common even in different countries. Of course, you can, as you use information, learn for the benefit of your own country's energy efficiency practices and policies. Next one is the part that assessment test. So we have some assessment tests at the end of each module. I didn't say, but in these two parts courses, you have 5 models. For one is like basic, I will go there, and then we have 4 different sectors. But so there are tests that you can take at the end of each of these models. Participant must attain a score of 70% or higher in all the 5 assessment tests in order to successfully complete the course. A minimum of 2 contributions of the discussion forum you need to do to pass to the next model, and complete also 1 evaluation survey. Adelante. So the first part, both courses, they have 1 introduction section, basically to say what is the relevance to talk about this topic, and also the work that the IEA has on energy efficiency, and all this about the multiple benefits of energy efficiency. Next one. And then, like I said, we have 5 models. The first one is like the basic, and we really encourage you to, all of you, take the first model at the beginning, because it's the basics for the statistics, no? To continue in how we are building these indicators. So this is, will provide you methodological framework for identifying and developing disaggregated indicators, and also discuss the principles and the challenge to effective policy making. Also says a lot about how to collect data, like the survey that we were hearing from INEGI, and other methods to gathering data. Next one. And then we have the different models that are focused on different sectors. We have 4 sectors. The first is the residential sector. You can choose, of course, if you are an expert and you are interested in transport, you can take the first model, that is the basics, and also go in there straight to the transport model if you want. But of course, we encourage you to take all of them. It's very easy to continue with them. So there is the residential sector, and also the service sector. And we have the sector for industry, the next one. And we have the sector for transport. You may not wish to take these models, like I was saying, in order that they are presented, but you may wish to start in other order. We do recommend that all participants start with the module 1, like I was saying, before taking all these specific models. Next one, please. La siguiente. Okay, so we are here today, launching the platform here in Mexico. But in fact, we started before doing a piloting phase. In this piloting that was with participants for all the world. And we had 4 people from Mexico doing the training before and giving us a lot of feedback that really helped us to improve the platform. And we really want now to use it here in Mexico and in other places where maybe with the live stream they are hearing now. But really we want more people from Mexico now doing this in this official phase, so we can later on meet again together, maybe in 2 months or something like that, and talk specifically, technically about the platform, no? How we can improve it, if it's really basic, or we can add some more specific information. As well, all of this is to improve the training. Adelante. Well, and the last one is the future that we want for this platform. Of course, we are looking to roll out this platform not only in Mexico, but in all the countries that the E4 program is working right now, like it's Brazil, China, India, Indonesia, and South Africa. We continue to keep regular contact with online training, alumni, and stakeholders in Mexico to discuss the progress. And also, like Brian was mentioning before, we want to have this platform in a Spanish version also, in language, and we will have other languages as well, like Portuguese, Chinese, Russian, and Bahasa Indonesian. So we can also take this platform. Of course, the main idea is to have a greater impact, no, in the country, because in some, so a lot of people inside the country, in different municipalities, in different sectors, they can take the training, and the language we want that don't be a barrier that is in English, the platform, but also having in the native language for these countries. And with that, I think is all. We will share with you the link that is in the presentation, and we will share the slides so you can go inside. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lepure, Mexico-based consultant for the International Energy Agency E4 program. Now, we will invite again to Mr. Brian Motherway, Head of the Energy Efficiency Division at the International Energy Agency, to inform some next steps.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you to the colleagues for explaining why we are here. So, picture a big ribbon across the stage. We have now cut the ribbon. The platform is live. We will share the details with you, but you can find it, and its web address is edx.iea.org. That's edx.iea.org. It's live now, so anybody who wants to start using this course, you're more than welcome to. It's a free resource for anybody in the world. And as first users, the reason we're here today is to ask you, first of all, to please do go on and log on and use the course, and then please do give us your feedback so that we can improve the course, make it better, and make it available to more users around the world. So we thought we might just take 5 minutes now in case there's any questions from anybody here who'd like to ask any particular questions before the event moves to a close. I know my colleagues have explained things extremely well, so there may not be. Well, other than that, from my side, I want to thank Mexico once again, Santiago and his entire team, and Odon and his team, and all of the stakeholders, and Leonardo in his absence, and all of our friends here in Mexico from the Mexican and the international communities. And of course, I want to add my thanks to my team represented here and also back in Paris, who are staying up late to watch us live so they can see their baby being born on International Women's Day. And once again, thank you for the very warm welcome here in Mexico today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brian Motherway, Head of the Energy Efficiency Division at the International Energy Agency. Finally, we welcome to Santiago Crehueras, General Director for Energy Efficiency and Sustainability of the Mexican Ministry of Energy, to address the closing remarks of this event.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the Ministry of Energy, I just want to thank everyone for being here, and as you probably know, we are streaming this online, so we have over 200 participants attending this global launch from all over the world. So it's great, and on behalf of the Ministry of Energy, we thank you for attending this global launch. Anna was telling me that if you complete the training course through the platform, you will end up with a certificate from the International Energy Agency and EDX. So that's a good thing to keep in mind for your curricula, if that helps, so that you don't just get online and you are not motivated just for getting the knowledge, but you will also get a piece of paper that will actually certify that you did it. But anyways, as my colleagues mentioned earlier on, Mr. Beltran, our Deputy Minister, and Mr. De Buen, the Director General of the Commission for the Efficient Use of Energy, we are really happy to have joined the International Energy Agency as the 30th member. We are celebrating that throughout this year. I think it's one of the greatest results of this administration. It is something that it was hard to talk about in the past, or even hard to hear, and now it's something that it's real, it's happened, and the cooperation with the International Energy Agency is increasing. We managed to fulfill all of the requirements in a record period of time. And as you all know, we have had an energy reform that we have enacted through this administration. And one of the goals of this energy reform is to increase our energy transition through reducing our energy intensity. And obviously, for doing that, we need to learn much more about energy efficiency. And this platform is a great opportunity for us in order to do that. As Anna mentioned earlier on, we started the webinars here in Mexico. It was an idea that we developed together with the International Energy Agency. At the very beginning, it was something that it was kind of blurry. People didn't really believe that was something that people would really be attending, and now we have over 300 people attending the webinars, not only from the agency, but also from the domestic ones that CONUE is also promoting every month. So it's a new tool for us to increase the awareness of energy efficiency, not only in Mexico, but in the rest of the world. And we are really proud to have had the opportunity to have this global launch of this online training course here in Mexico. So I would like to thank on behalf of the Ministry of Energy the support of the Energy Efficiency Commission here in Mexico, of the National Institute of Statistics, INEGI, for all of their support, and for each one of you who has attended this global launch from the different subsectors. We have people from the international corporations. We have guests from the research institutes, from the Nuclear Institute, from the Oil Institute, and also from different research institutions, as well as financial institutions, academic institutions that have participated either here in person or through the online streaming. So, and obviously, last but not least, I would like to thank Brian Motherway, head of the Energy Efficiency Division, for taking the time to come to Mexico, and as well to Roberta Quadrelli, head of the Energy Balances, Prices, Emissions, and Energy Efficiency Data Center, also for making the trip to Mexico, going away from the cold weather and having some good time here in Mexico. As you know, Mexico is su casa, and we want you to feel very, very welcome. And congratulations for launching this. We hope that it is attended for more people than the expected, so that you have to actually increase the streaming and the number of participants for the very first cohorts. As I have heard, it is an asynchronic version, so you can do it in your own time. You don't really have to attend the lessons at a very specific time. So that's really good. You can do it at your own pace and at your own time. You can finish it on a weekend, or you can finish it in 3 months. So that's also really good. And we hope that your mission here in Mexico is very, very fruitful. Mexico is attending the governing board of the International Energy Agency in a couple of weeks, and believe it or not, one of Fatih Birol's greatest goals throughout his administration as executive director of the International Energy Agency is actually to develop energy efficiency as one of the greatest opportunities and goals. The only division he has created so far within the agency is the energy efficiency division, and it started with only a couple of people a few years ago, and now it's more than 20 people. And we hope that this number increases even more. So congratulations for that, and we send our best wishes and greetings to all of the team members of the Energy Efficiency Division in Paris and the rest of the world. Again, on behalf of the Ministry of Energy, thank you for being here, thank you for taking the time, and congratulations to the International Energy Agency for launching this online training platform for energy efficiency. All the best to all of you. Thank you. And thank you to Victor Zúñiga, the Director for Energy Efficiency, for serving as the Master of Ceremonies. He did it very, very well. Thank you.